You want to request control, Shruti, from me, or I can also help you with
Yeah,
changing the slides.
absolutely. Yeah, I'll do that once my section comes up.
Sure.
Meanwhile, maybe you can go ahead smoothly. Okay, so let's begin. Hi, everybody. Hi, everyone on the chat. I hope we have energized, fully awakened audience on a Saturday. That too, I know it's evening in India. Thanks also to Vijay Jasjeet for moderating the session. Thanks to Vignesh and other people who have actually organized this summit. So really excited to be here. Um, Marina and we are from Microsoft, and we will be talking about threat intelligence today. So let's maybe start with a quick introduction. While we do our introduction, we would probably love to also know our audience. And if in the chat, maybe you could post something about your role or something about the city that you're joining from, that will be really great to hear. So I am a security technology specialist at Microsoft, which means I am responsible for the entire security technology stack of Microsoft, all the Defender, Sentinel, the new capabilities that are being launched in this area, and so on. I am focused on financial services industry. It has been about 1.5 years since I joined Microsoft. Prior to that, I was in the US and in the UAE, working with different companies in the same domain of cybersecurity. Personally speaking, I'm a squash player. I like scuba diving and bunch of other activities. You can find me on LinkedIn and any other social media platform that you would like to connect on for cybersecurity and other purposes. Over to you, Marina.
Thank you, Shruti, and good evening or good morning, everybody. I'm Marina. I have the same role as Shruti. We're actually in the same team here in Amsterdam, the Microsoft headquarters from Amsterdam. I've been with Microsoft for 1.5 years, and before Microsoft, I've built my knowledge and experience in the cybersecurity industry at other companies such as Palo Alto Networks and Oracle. Shruti has already told you about our role, so I'm not gonna go through that again. And I would say let's kick it off and let's start with the subject for today, about which I'm very excited. It's something that I'm both of us are very passionate about and very much looking forward to sharing all the new updates around the topic, around the Defender for Threat Intelligence. We're gonna start with some market trends, concerns, and investments, including human-operated ransomware. Afterwards, Shruti, she's gonna walk you through the solution itself. She's gonna explain to you what Microsoft for Threat Intelligence does, how does it work, and for you to better understand it. After that, we're going to show you also some more practical information, such as the portal itself. So we're going to dive into the demo and look at some of the things that are available there. And then, because Microsoft Defender for Threat Intelligence, as you know, it's one of the many products that Microsoft has to offer, we're going to try our best to place it in the bigger picture of the Microsoft security portfolio and help you understand how this solution actually connects to others, such as SIEM and XDR, and what are some of the benefits that you can get out of the integration. We're gonna close it off. We're gonna let you know how you can actually try the solution, Microsoft Defender for Threat Intelligence, and also give you the opportunity to ask a few questions. Looking at also at the chat, I see people connecting from all over the world, from UK, from UAE, from India. So happy to see we have a very diverse audience from multiple points of view. Alrighty. As mentioned, and according to our agenda, we are going to start with some market trends and with some security investments that you can actually benefit of from Microsoft Defender for Threat Intelligence. What Microsoft Defender for Threat Intelligence provides, it's raw intelligence to create your own targeted TI, and that's gonna help you to better understand the threat actor tooling, and where the infrastructure is located. For example, when they are trying to attack the organizations, the toolings that they utilize, and to close the gaps into your security perimeter. Now, the threats are changing, but not only they are changing, but they're also growing each and every day. I think everybody here on the call is very much aware of that. and we are moving more towards the human-operated ransomware. So we see more and more attacks that are targeting an entire company and not only individual systems. We see a lot of attacks customized and driven by human intelligence. We see calculated data encryption or data exfiltration. And successful defenses, we see more and more that they require holistic security. With all those challenges in place, of course, we need to come also with solutions that are being able to keep up with the emerging threats. Now, everybody has seen the attack kill chain so far, and everybody is aware that it's good to stop the attack life cycle at any stage, and it's preferable to stop it as early as possible. Microsoft has been a player and has been providing cybersecurity solutions for the different stages of the attack: endpoint security, cloud security, and data security, and so. But what we felt it was really missing was in the reconnaissance and weaponization side, where we had no idea what the attacker was doing before actually getting to our environment. And this is exactly the gap that Microsoft Defender for Threat Intelligence is covering, being able to provide the tools for you to understand what are some of the attacker's tools and techniques even before he or she launching the attack towards your organization. Now, that being said, that being the introduction, now I will pass it over to Shruti to actually reveal some of the under the hood information of how Microsoft Defender for Threat Intelligence works.
Perfect. Thank you, Marina. So some of you might be aware that a couple of weeks ago, we had our annual event at Microsoft called Microsoft Ignite. As part of Ignite, we released a bunch of security solutions and security capabilities. One of them was Microsoft Defender Threat Intelligence. This is actually one of the two solutions that are the tangible outcomes of our acquisition in the market. So Microsoft acquired Risk IQ about 10 to 11 months ago. And we developed and nurtured those capabilities further. Risk IQ was already a known name in the market. And what we did was we came out with two different solutions. One is Defender Threat Intelligence that we are going to talk about today. And the other one is Microsoft Defender External Attack Surface Management, which we can touch at the tip of the iceberg level, but we won't go much in detail because that's a huge subject in itself. Yeah. So talking about threat intelligence, what is threat intelligence? Forget about Microsoft for a second. Even if you're in the market, then what is threat intelligence overall? Threat intelligence is basically something that is used by the SOC analysts, incident responders, cybersecurity practitioners, and multiple other members of your organization in order to combat threats like ransomware, security breaches, any other types of attacks, human-operated ransomware that Marina talked about in the previous slide, and so on. Threat intelligence is nothing but an enhancement over indicators of compromise. So the way your indicators of compromise enrich your XDR solutions, by XDR, I mean extended detection and response solutions, or they enrich your SIEM solutions, irrespective of whatever brand you have from the market. Likewise, threat intel sits a level up because threat intel focuses on threat actors rather than threats itself. It gives you all the intel, be it raw intel, be it finished intel, in terms of articles, published articles, to understand the adversaries, to understand the threat actors, to understand the attackers in the market and their tools and techniques. So that's basically, in a nutshell, what threat intelligence is and what it does. Let me see if I got control. Yeah, so we basically covered all these points, and at the core of it sits Microsoft Defender Threat Intelligence. Now, what we have done is Microsoft was already a known name in the market to provide intelligence such as Mystic, such as intelligence coming from the Bing team, such as intelligence coming from Xbox team. And Xbox is our largest attack surface so far. So we used to derive a lot of threat intelligence already from those platforms. Now that we have the power of risk IQ in our portfolio, we have a lot more in the umbrella of Microsoft Defender Threat Intelligence. You will see three key things here: identify, accelerate, and integrate. This is basically the crux of how Defender Threat Intelligence works. When it's about identify, Defender Threat Intelligence helps you identify through.
I think we lost you for 1 second, Shruti. Can you still hear us, Shruti? Am I the only one who doesn't hear Shruti, or is it everybody?
I cannot hear.
Yeah, me neither. Let me try to ping her. If not, we're gonna go ahead. She cannot join again.
Yeah, okay, I'm back.
Oh, super.
Yeah.
Let me bring up the presentation.
Okay, meanwhile, I'm going to just repeat the last part. Apologies about the bad network here. So we were talking about Defender Threat Intelligence, and it identifies the adversaries, the attackers, and their tooling tips and tricks and their techniques at a global level. That means it gives you a complete map of the internet, shows you where your attackers are sitting, shows you where your adversaries are sitting, and then it detects entire tooling that they are using in order to attack you or penetrate into your environment. When we talk about the identify stage, it builds a map of connected vulnerabilities and threats so that you know what to avoid. It also leverages a library, a complete library of what we call as finished intelligence. And when I say finished intelligence, I mean a knowledge base of all the published articles to basically derive insights to enhance your security. The second step in how Defender Threat Intel works is accelerate. So it basically allows you to understand rapidly how your assets are connected, to understand the risks to prevent the attacks, to understand where threats can potentially attack so that they can be managed and removed. In the accelerate phase, there is also deep analytics that we deploy in order to allow a rapid and complete discovery of all your affected assets and their connections on the internet. Because if you know about it, then you can remove it effectively. It ensures that things like or tactics like persistence are blocked and removed from returning. It also reduces the risk of double extortion with complete cleanup of your environment. And then the last step is integrate. We will talk about this in detail in the upcoming slides. But integrate is basically to add your threat intelligence on top of your existing security suite and your security landscape. So that's in a nutshell what identify, accelerate, and integrate means. If I go to the next slide, then maybe let's talk a bit more about how Defender Threat Intel works. And like I said, it observes the internet at a global level. That means it creates one single graph of all the good and bad out there that lies. And by good and bad, I mean adversaries, non-adversaries, their allies, their toolings, their IP addresses, domains, hosts, and everything. And then it brings that threat intel into one single portal. In order to do this, there are 4 different steps involved as showcased on this page. So when we talk about internet reconnaissance, it means knowledge gathering. And how do we gather the knowledge? Microsoft sends its crawlers to billions of websites every day. Those crawlers, they start with a seed value. That means an initial part of the URL. And then they basically penetrate all the pages of that particular website or that pages associated with that particular URL. There are also sensors. There are also the setup and non-setup interactions, which basically means scripted and random interactions in the terminology of cybersecurity. So using those interactions, using those crawlers, using those sensors, the internet is all the information about the internet is collected. Now, keep in mind that two different crawlers could bring in the same level of detail to our knowledge pool. Crawler A could reach one particular IP in a different way, and crawler B could reach the same IP in a different way. How does this help? It would basically create a lot of redundancy, create a lot of duplication in our knowledge pool. Now, in order to remove that and in order to make some sense out of that data, in order to convert that data into a meaningful table that we can actually leverage, you go to step 2, which is analysis and automation. By using machine learning and our artificial intelligence processes, we process billions of requests across millions of web pages, and all of it that comes from step 1 is basically put in a nice global internet graph. That's step 3, that unmasks all the attackers and their tools. What does this graph give you? It gives you raw and finished threat intel. By raw threat intel, I mean the data that can be directly exported to your SIEM solutions or to your XDR solutions. And by finished threat intel, I mean the published articles with regard to threat intel that you can go to as your knowledge base. So these 4 steps are in a nutshell how Defender Threat Intel works. Any questions, please feel free to interrupt, come off mute, or please post your questions in the chat, whatever you're comfortable with. But I hope this is clear so far. Then this is one slide that we added to give you more information about what this new MDTI does. Some of you might have questions about, hey, Microsoft already had threat intel, so is this a new solution introduced just for the heck of it? How does it integrate with other solutions? So this slide basically answers your questions. Right in the center, you see our SIEM source solution, which is Microsoft Sentinel. Below it, you see our XDR solution, which is Defender for Endpoint. Some of you may be familiar with it. Some of you might not be familiar with it. But keep in mind that MDTI can integrate with not only Microsoft solutions, but with also other SIEM solutions and other XDR solutions. Now, Sentinel, as you can see in this diagram, so far it derived intelligence from third-party threat intel, which is basically your threat intel, our threat intel platform or taxi objects. Sentinel also derived threat intel from our malware and phishing intelligence portals that you see on the right-hand side in common event format. Now, Sentinel will also derive threat intel analytics from the new MDTI platform that has been launched. Likewise, with Defender for Endpoint, we have different kinds of IOCs, malicious IOCs related to your assets that you could connect in the past. But now it also integrates with Defender for Threat Intel, which is where you can manually input articles or indicators from MDTI to Defender 365 environment. Now, I emphasize the word manual because it has just been released. It is manual right now, but API support is coming out very, very soon. And then it will be able to seamlessly integrate threat intel the way it integrates with Sentinel. What draws customers to MDTI? Why MDTI? So a lot of you or a lot of your customers, depending on what line of business you are in, might be running OSINT scans to search deep webs, dark webs, and so on. With MDTI, you get finished articles already after doing those OSINT scans. You also get the power of advanced investigations over multiple internet data sets and threat indicators. If you want to pivot between different kinds of data sets, then that's also possible via MDTI. Thirdly, reputation scoring. So like I said in the beginning, your adversaries' IP addresses, domains, and host names, they are available to you with their respective reputation scores, which is calculated dynamically, almost real time, so that you get a live image of how bad an IP address can be, domain can be, or a host can be. And lastly, individual users can collaborate on threat investigations, share evidences, indicators of compromise, artifacts, annotations, and so on, which basically means different security teams can work on one single project via the use of this one-stop shop portal that we call MDTI. What security functions benefit from Defender Threat Intel? Multiple security functions. Firstly, you might have guessed the Security Operations Center, or what we call as SOC. So SOC team or SOC analysts, they can use data collected from a variety of defense tools to analyze events. Incident response teams, of course, investigating, analyzing, and responding to cyber incidents within a particular network or enclave is possible via MDTI. The third team that could benefit from it is threat hunting team. Of course, they can do proactive search for malwares or attackers hiding within a network. Fourth one is cyber threat intelligence analysis team, which means their job is to identify and track cyber threats to an organization and working with stakeholders to reduce risks. So that's also possible via this solution. Lastly, cybersecurity research team, if you have in your organization, then they can develop new concepts or new approaches to identify and defend against cyber threats. So multiple teams related to security in your organization can benefit from it. With that, I'm happy to take any questions in the chat or live. Feel free to come off mute. Meanwhile, I hand it over to Marina to show you a glimpse of the platform.
Super, thank you, Shruti. Let's see if there are any questions in the chat or anybody wants to go off mute. I think somebody's trying to ask a question.
Or probably it is some mic disturbance, but guys, get some caffeine going at your places, get some coffee. Let us know if you have any questions right now or after the session. We are there.
I think we're fine, Shruti. It could also mean that everything was super clear. So I would say let's go further and let's see how the demo environment actually looks like. And in order to walk you through the demo, in order to walk you through the portal itself, let's take a scenario. Let's imagine that we are working for a fictive company, which we call Condosa Hotels. And for this company, I'm a defender in the security operations team, and I am responding to a ransomware attack. The scenario tells me that my organization has isolated already the attack, and we are in the process of actually cleaning up the affected systems. Now, the scenario starts when I am given an external IP address that was communicating to an internal computer that was affected by the ransomware attack in place. Now, whenever I need any information about any piece of threat infrastructure, my first stop is Microsoft Defender for Threat Intelligence. And this is exactly what the screen that you're going to see when you're going to log into Microsoft for Threat Intelligence. Now, in this screen, you're going to see our featured articles, the finished threat intelligence that Shruti was telling you about. Those are actually very comprehensive threat reports that you can access, and they are written by the Microsoft researchers. What's really interesting about them is that they are offering a written and human readable narrative, so that you can directly use them. You can quickly use them to understand what is the issue. But a part of the narratives and the part of the articles, what makes Microsoft Defender for Threat Intelligence really special, is the power of our search function. And as you're looking at the drop down that appears on the screen as well, you're going to see the search bar. And you can see multiple options that you can actually search upon. You can either run an ad hoc search for an ad hoc search with everything using the all criteria, or you can limit your search to just a specific data set. I need to mention that we're always adding to this data set, and they're updated as Microsoft processes and signals and crawls to the internet. Now, in the search bar, you can, for example, search against tags. The tags are actually coming from community, from the Microsoft research team. You can also search against the components which actually represent the infrastructure inside a website or, for example, an operating system. Another thing that you can search upon are, as you can see, the trackers. Trackers are common code that's embedded into a web page. Could be a unique piece of information, could be a thread campaign, and you can use those trackers actually to tie together different incidents. There are multiple things that you can search against. As you can see, the list is not finished. We also allow you to search against WHOIS records or SSL certificates. And these are the certificates that we observed when we visited the IP address or the website. And also we investigated data also going back historically. The last thing that you can search upon are cookies. The cookies are the variables that are returned to a web page when we crawl or when we scan, for example, a website. Now, that being said, that's on the articles and that's the search bar capability of Microsoft Defender for Threat Intelligence, but the tool itself also includes projects. What's cool about the projects is that the projects actually enable you to hunt threats as a team, because there is usually the case that there is a team, maybe a SOC team, which need to work together and to make sure that they update each other to avoid overlap work and to make sure that everybody gets the same information without double work. Now, let's imagine that you spend an hour finding suspicious IRC and you document everything in the project. You can, for example, tag the specific findings that you have found, or you can actually add some context to the investigation, and you can pass this information further to one of your colleagues so they can continue when their shift starts, for example, or pass it to a more senior colleague if that's the case, so they continue the investigation from the exact point where you actually left it. What's the benefits that the projects are actually introducing? They are, of course, maximizing the shared knowledge and enables the teams to be more effective, and especially helping the junior analysts elevate their work by being provided so much context and so much information by the tool, but also by their colleagues as well. I think I see also there are some questions in the chat. Is there anything that should be answered right now?
All good, Marina. Keep going.
Okay.
I'm taking the questions for you.
Okay, thank you so much. Okay, now back to the scenario. Remember that I've been tasked with determining everything that I can about the external IP address that I was given, the one which was communicating to a malicious point. Now, if the IP address is malicious, I need to uncover all the infrastructure and all the tools associated with it, because those ones, they might be involved in the attack, or they could, if not in the current attack, maybe they could be used in future attacks, for example, a problem that definitely I want to avoid. Now, let me show you how actually how threat intelligence and Microsoft Defender for Threat Intelligence can help you unmask those adversaries, and how can you unmask their tools as well across the internet. So let's have a look. After searching upon the IP address in Microsoft Defender for Threat Intelligence, you can see the first information, very valuable information. You can say it's the dynamically computed risk score. Now, this risk score very quickly gives you a very good indication that it is malicious. And more important, not only that it is malicious, why it is malicious. You can see the metadata about the IP address, such as the ASN of the IP, WHOIS information, and then it also tells you, for example, when Microsoft first and last observed the IP address in our collection. Now, if we're drilling down into the scoring feature that you can see here, we also provide tips for the analyst to conduct their own assessment. And as you can see, there is an associated threat intelligence article, it is called Falling into a Nest of Vipers. Why'd it have to be snakes? The IP address is running a self-signed certificate. So this is exactly why what the article is teaching us, that the IP address is running a self-signed certificate, which can be assigned malicious behavior. Now, going further here, we can see that the IP address that we have searched upon is associated, as said, with the Microsoft Defender for Identity article. Now, you might also ask yourself, how is the connection being done between the IP address and the article, the finished threat intelligence that you can see here? Well, the connection is based on the indicators, and you can see the 802 indicators. And what we actually are going to see in the article is we're going to open it. We're going to see a description of a Viper. Viper is an open source tool which is used for pen testing, like Cobalt Strike, another tool that you might probably heard about. The attackers do use those tools in order to launch ransomware and other attacks. But now going back to the indicators, as I was telling you, the 802 indicators that you see there under the article itself, because that's the connection between the IP address and the threat intelligence that we provide. So I would say let's dive more into those indicators now to understand how the connection was being done. Now, the IP addresses listed in this article, the ones that you see now expanded on the screens, they're all part of the Viper infrastructure. So they're confirmed to be malicious. What I can do at this point, for example, and now you can see the first tangible benefit of Microsoft Defender for Threat Intelligence in my own research as a threat defender at Contoso Hotels. At this point, with this information, I could go to my SOC team and notify about those 802 indicators, ask for them to be either blocked or at least to be investigated. Or if you're, for example, using a SIEM solution, or if you're using the Microsoft Sentinel one, that information, the threat intelligence, it will automatically get enhanced detections about all the indicators alerting you if nobody, for example, in your organization is interacting with those known bad IPs, bad IPs. Right. Now, going and seeing other components that are related to the IP address. If you're looking through the list that appears on the screen, looking at the table at the column category right in the middle of the screen, we see different tactics and techniques from the attack lifecycle. I really want to draw attention upon two of them, and two of them are the command and control components. Now, your Viper corresponds to the time frame of the attack, and we could also see the second command and control category, which is related to Cobalt Strike, as mentioned, which is another popular hacking tool, who ran on this IP address that we searched upon last year. Now, what I can do further with this information that I have seen here, I can go ahead and investigate everywhere Viper is on the internet, so I can protect my organization against this tooling at scale. So this is the last step of my investigation, and of course the last step of the demo. Now going and looking at the components on that IP address, which is related to Viper, I can see there are 505 IP addresses running Viper. I can also, what I can also do now is take these IP addresses and prevent access to them, as I've done with the 802 indicators of compromise. I can take these in order to make sure that they are not going to be a threat to my organization. And I can also check if anybody internally has accessed them and to make sure that won't happen anymore. And that concludes the demo section. I hope it was interesting and hope everything was clear. Happy to take questions, either going off mute or just drop them to the chat. If not, passing it over to Shruti to tell you about the integration. I've already mentioned a few bits during the demo about the integration with the SIEM solution. but Shruti is going to take you further with the explanations.
Awesome. Thank you, Marina. Meanwhile, Rajneesh, you asked a first question about how it is different from the component of threat analytics that we have within MS Defender or M365 Defender. I answered that M365 Defender focuses more on threats, but this solution focuses more on the hidden threat actors that may be lying in your internet or deep web or dark web or anywhere. So it is a more powerful solution that helps you detect the adversaries even before they have translated into a threat, even before they have exploited a vulnerability and launched a risk in your environment based on their reputation, based on other activities that they are doing on the internet. So it comes a step before our threat analytics blade that we give you in M365 Defender. Hope that was clear. The second question you asked me about was licensing. So it's a new SKU. It is right now, if I'm not wrong, it's 50,000 USD per user per year, but we can double check that. Please note that it comes with a free trial of 30 days, and then it is per user license based. It is billed monthly, but you don't need to enter a contract for it. If you have a 24-month contract, but you use it only for 22 months, then it's also pay as you go. There is no support or setup charge, and any existing discounts applying on any organizations that are already a customer of M365 Defender or other security solutions like Sentinel, we can also take those discounts into account while you're purchasing your MDTI licenses. So hope that's clear. I also gave that to you in the chat window. Any other questions? Feel free to come off mute. And yeah, okay, I saw your thanks. Okay, cool. So that means we were able to resolve your questions. Proceeding with how SIEM and XDR are enhanced with Defender Threat Intel. I will take a pause here and I will actually let you guys answer this in the chat. How do you think your SIEM solution, for example, Microsoft's brand for SIEM is Sentinel, but there could be any other brands that you're working with. And Microsoft's brand for XDR is M365 Defender. There could be other XDR solutions that you're working with. How do you think threat intelligence enhances any company's SIEM or XDR solutions? And we can give you a few seconds, couple of minutes in the chat to write down your answers. No answer is a wrong answer, so please don't shy away. No response. We have a shy audience today. Okay, fine. Let us spill the beans. So what you see now on the slide are basically a few ways in which you can enhance your SIEM and XDR solutions. I see Shoaib's response. I think now we will get a single platform including threat intel. Yes, that's absolutely correct. With Defender Threat Intel, you're getting all of Microsoft's threat intel combined on one platform. You're also getting threat intel from third parties combined within one platform. If you have any other solutions that you are using, you can also integrate that with Defender Threat Intel to make it a single stop shop for all the threat intel feeds that you are bringing in or that are there in the market. Now, how does it connect with Sentinel and M365 Defender is that with Sentinel, you can cross-reference your internal logs with external threat intelligence to enhance your detections and identify any suspicious activity that might be going on. Secondly, you can speed up your investigations to MDTI, initial incident triage, with very rich external intelligence from the internet, including dynamic reputation scoring. Thirdly, you can build your own threat intelligence and bring it back to Sentinel to cross-reference your internal logs. Likewise, on the M365 Defender side of the house, I will explain the second point first because it's similar to Sentinel. You can build your own threat intel and bring it back to M365 Defender to cross-reference your internal logs that were flowing into M365. And then about correlating endpoint incidents with real world external threat intelligence, you can actually accelerate your threat investigations and also your threat responses, your responses to those investigations. Because correlation is where the magic happens. You can connect multiple dots and save a lot of time, make your SOC teams, incident response teams, cyber research teams, hunting teams a lot more efficient. And I see Shoaib saying, will save me time going to VirusTotal and other tools every time, I suppose. Yes, indeed. Quick conversation on how we are different. So, of course, we are different. We are Microsoft. But what this solution helps you do is that, firstly, it's built in within Azure Cloud, which means you don't need to deploy anything. You don't need to bring in your hardware. You don't need to have that headache of having a deployment team deploy a solution because you just need to turn it on. You just need to enable it within your cloud. Secondly, there is multi-cloud and hybrid support available, which means you have support for AWS and Google Cloud Platform. There is agentless onboarding for AWS and GCP available as well. You can also onboard not just your cloud resources, but also any on-premise resources by the use of Azure Arc. With Azure Arc, your on-prem resources are treated as if they were Azure resources, and it's a free component. Thirdly, secure score. It gives you a secure score, which means a very high-level view of your security posture. Not just that, in a numerical format, in a statistical format, but also your prioritized security recommendations. Those of you who are familiar with M365 Defender platform will know about prioritized security recommendations. We are also bringing them to MDTI, which means you know which recommendation will solve most of the problems within your environment and hence earn you a higher secure score. So that way you can prioritize your remediations. And lastly, advanced threat protection, which means signals and threat alerts specific to your workload. A lot of AI, machine learning, and anomaly-based detections going on in Microsoft Cloud that you don't need to worry about. And resolving and correlating and making sense out of 24 trillion signals daily on Microsoft platform. So you can leverage all of that power. All these are our USPs, our unique selling points. This is how we are very, very different. With that, I give it back to Marina to wind up and also take any questions from you guys.
Sure. I think I hope at least that we managed to give you a brief but a good overview of what Microsoft Defender for Threat Intelligence is. How does it fit into the Microsoft portfolio? If there is any more curiosity sparkle in here, what you can do from now is to go ahead and try a free trial for 30 days and to get yourself acquainted with the solution itself. Use it for good purposes, but I think it's definitely interesting to see what type of information can actually provide and how you can leverage to your own organization's good. That being said, we're happy to take any more questions either now or on LinkedIn if there is something after the session that you might want or discuss about. More than open to do it.
Okay, I see a question from Jasjeet. What business value proposition points to talk to the C-level folks to get their buy-in in this product? A lot of them, and Marina, feel free to add more. The first couple of points that strike me are cost efficiencies, because right now companies might be, or the C-level suite might be paying out of their annual information security budgets to integrate threat feeds. Not all of them are open source, not all of them are free. So, and there, I have not seen any organization that sources their threat feeds only from one sources. There are always multiple threat feeds combined. That might be costing you guys some money, which is fine. MDTI will also cost you money, but then the whole correlation bit is something that your team needs to do, which means added time, added energy from your analysts, reduced efficiency. So with all of that, you can definitely see the time efficiencies that the C-suite will have with one single product, with one single environment. And also something that strikes me is that the C-level folks will know that Risk IQ used to be a very, very powerful company, a very, very powerful tool. And them merging with Microsoft now, them being acquired by Microsoft now, for the sake of better phrasing, uh, only adds to more power. Thirdly, it's all native. That means with Sentinel, with other XDR solutions, M365 Defender, it's all on one platform, all within Microsoft. You don't need to enable anything. You don't need to connect anything. It is all connected in the background very, very natively. Plus, it also can connect with any third-party brands of your SIEM solutions and XDR, which is like an added bonus. It's not just Microsoft focused. Of course, it won't be native. Yeah.
Yeah. If I may add to that, Shruti, because it's interesting, we have different customer sets, so it's interesting that we have different, maybe slightly different conversations. So I'm focusing on the retail market. And there, what I saw at the C-level people are very much excited about the solution. First of all, it brings a lot of value without the need of too much resources for deployment. There are actually no resources for deployment. It's not like any other solution where you need to integrate it into your architecture. It's just there, and you can use it based on the values that you have in your IP addresses or certificates, and so that you have in your infrastructure. So the value provided in comparison to the effort, it's very good. And second of all, I think if I'm looking at all of the security solutions, Microsoft Defender for threat intelligence, in combination also with Microsoft Defender for external attack surface management, the other solution which was announced, they are the strongest when it comes to 0 days. Now, when we speak about 0 days, I think any solutions, Microsoft Defender for Endpoint, Microsoft Defender for Cloud, they all have some bits and pieces and techniques that are fighting against 0 days. But Microsoft Defender for Threat Intelligence and external attack surface management, I think that's where they are focusing the most, right? In the wild, what are the things that are still unknown, so that you can actually prevent those. For me, these are the two takeaways that I'm hearing the most from the C-level people. I hope that answers your question. Okay, any other questions? I don't see anything else in the chat. Super. Thanks for the feedback and thanks for the questions.
Maybe we can give you a one-liner for the other solution that was a result of Risk IQ acquisition. It's called MDEASM, or Microsoft Defender External Attack Surface Management. It basically shows you how an attacker sitting outside of your infrastructure is looking at your resources from outside. So it gives you an outside-in perspective. While Defender Threat Intel is completely the opposite. It gives you a view into into the attacker. So you sitting within your infrastructure can look at an adversary, their threat tooling, and so on. Maybe another session on that.
Absolutely. That would be a big topic for sure.
Yeah.
First time
Cool.
hearing we can be a step ahead instead of they being a step ahead.
Yeah. So I guess with that, over to you guys, Jasjeet and Vijay, the organizers, moderators.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for your time and sharing your knowledge with us. Absolutely loved the session. And yeah, if anybody has any questions, please feel free to reach out to them on LinkedIn or anywhere else you feel like. And if you still have questions, you can put them in the chat window. Otherwise, we can adjourn and the next session will start in another 10 minutes.